"You never deserve our son," my mother-in-law said coldly, dangling the new house keys in front of me. "It's time you understand your place in this family." I stood there silently as she finished changing the locks on the house I had lived in for 7 years. My name is Sarah Mitchell, and at 35, I was watching my in-laws kick me out of my own home. The situation would have been almost funny if it weren't so frustrating. "Nothing to say," my father-in-law mocked. "No tears. No begging. I thought you put up more of a fight." I adjusted my bag and smiled. "No need. Maybe you're right. I never deserved your son." The confusion on their faces almost made up for the humiliation of this moment. Almost. From the day I married David, they made it clear I wasn't good enough. I was just a middle-class girl who had somehow married into their wealthy family. They never let me forget it. Not at family dinners, not during holidays, and certainly not during the many family meetings where they criticized me as a wife. "Well," my mother-in-law huffed, disappointed by my lack of resistance, "at least you finally understand. David will be better off with Madison anyway. She comes from the right kind of family." Ah, Madison. The family friend who had been hanging around David for the past year. The same Madison who had secret lunch meetings with him, sent late-night texts, and slowly crept into my marriage. The perfect woman for their perfect son. Everything they thought I wasn't. As I turned to leave, my mother-in-law's voice stopped me. "Don't think about claiming anything. David was smart enough not to put your name on any property or accounts. You'll leave with nothing, just like you deserve." I nodded and walked away as they celebrated their victory. What they didn't know, what David didn't know, was that I had seen this coming long before they did. 2 years into our marriage, when David had a bad car accident, he trusted me to handle all the paperwork. "You're better at this stuff anyway," he had said, signing whatever I put in front of him. So I did exactly that. I handled everything, including transferring the house into my name. Not out of greed, but because I knew what his parents were capable of. I loved David, but I wasn't naive. I protected myself. Now, as I walked away from the house I legally owned, I pulled out my phone and called my lawyer. "Julia, it happened just like we expected. Yes, they changed the locks. No, I didn't tell them about the deed. Let's move forward." I checked into the Four Seasons. Might as well be comfortable while the storm brewed. Julia had advised me to document everything. My in-laws' emotional abuse, David's affair with Madison, the messages, the bank records. "Your in-laws will regret this," Julia had said. And David, well, he made his choice. I'd ordered room service and opened my laptop, checking the security cameras I had installed in the house months ago. The live feed showed my in-laws settling in, probably planning how to redecorate now that I was gone. A text popped up from David. "Mom said you finally left. It's better this way. Madison and I can be together now. I'll have my lawyer contact you about the divorce." I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded it to Julia to add to our case file. 3 days. That's how long Julia said it would take to finalize everything. 3 days before they realized their mistake. Sipping my wine, I watched the sunset from my hotel room. Soon, David and his parents would learn the truth. The house, the cars, even his boat. They were all mine. Legal, documented, and untouchable. My grandmother always said, I murmured, raising my glass, "The best revenge is letting people think they've won." I smiled. In 3 days, they would understand why I hadn't fought back. I had already won. That night, I slept better than I had in months. Letting go of a life where I was never accepted felt freeing. Tomorrow would be chaos. But tonight, I could finally breathe. 3 days passed quickly. Through my security cameras, I watched my in-laws and Madison turn my house into their dream home. They replaced my photos, moved my things to the garage, and acted like I never existed. On the 4th morning, I got dressed in my favorite black dress, styled my hair, and headed to meet Julia at the courthouse. It was time. "Everything's ready," Julia said, handing me a stack of papers. "The police will meet us there. Are you sure you want to do this publicly?" I nodded. They humiliated me in front of everyone. It's only fair they learn their lesson the same way. We arrived just as David's car pulled into the driveway. Right on time. 2 police cars and a locksmith van followed. David stepped out with Madison beside him, his confident smile fading as he saw us. "What's this?" he asked. "Sarah, if you're trying to make a scene." Julia stepped forward. "We're here with a court order. This property belongs solely to Mrs. Mitchell. You and your family are trespassing. David laughed, but there was doubt in his eyes. That's ridiculous. This is my house. I bought it. With my money, I said. And you signed it over to me while you were recovering. Remember those papers you didn't bother to read? His face went pale just as his parents came outside. What's going on? My mother-in-law demanded. A police officer held out the official documents. Ma'am, you're trespassing. You have 1 hour to gather your things and leave. This is absurd, my father-in-law yelled. David, tell them this is your house. David frantically scrolled through his phone, searching for proof. This can't be right. Sarah, what did you do? I protected myself, I said simply. Just like you tried to protect yourself by keeping my name off everything. But you didn't read the fine print. You signed everything over to me. Madison grabbed David's arm. Baby, they can't do this. Tell them they can't do this. The officer checked his watch. 53 minutes left. My mother-in-law lunged at me, face twisted with rage. Careful, Julia warned. Everything is being recorded. You've already committed illegal entry. Want to add assault to the list? The next hour was chaos. My in-laws scrambled to grab whatever they could while the police watched. I stood by my car, calm, as their perfect plan collapsed. The cars too, Julia said as David tried to get into his BMW. The boat, the vehicles, everything is in Mrs. Mitchell's name. You can't take everything, he shouted. I earned that money. I opened a folder. Here are bank statements showing how you've been draining our accounts for your secret life with Madison. And here's proof of the money your parents tried to transfer out last week. Should I keep going? Their faces showed pure defeat. Madison was already calling in Uber, suddenly uninterested now that David had nothing. As they loaded their last belongings into my father-in-law's car, the only one in their name, David turned to me. Why? He asked, his voice hollow. Why did you just tell me you knew? I looked at him for the first time in months. Because you didn't deserve a warning. You and your family spent years making me feel small, like I wasn't enough. You never thought I was smart enough to protect myself. That was your mistake. The locksmith finished changing the locks, ones only I had the keys to. Julia handed David an envelope. Divorce papers, she said. Mrs. Mitchell is filing on grounds of adultery and financial misconduct. You'll need a good lawyer. I watched them drive away, my mother-in-law crying, my father-in-law furious, David defeated, Madison disappearing. It felt like a weight had lifted. Julia shut her briefcase. That went better than expected, ready to go inside. I looked at my house, truly mine now, and smiled. Actually, I have one more stop to make first. The day wasn't over yet. I had one last surprise, one that would show them losing the house was just the beginning of their problems. That evening, while David and his family were probably scrambling to find hotel rooms, I sat in the office of James Parker, my mother's old friend and the executor of her estate. The same estate my in-laws never knew existed. The timing couldn't be better, James said, spreading documents across his desk. Your mother would be proud of how you handled everything. What my husband and his family never bothered to learn about me was that my middle-class background was a choice, not a reality. My mother had been a silent investor in multiple real estate developments, leaving me a substantial inheritance when she passed. I kept it quiet, living modestly, wanting to build a genuine relationship with David. The trust becomes active tomorrow, James continued. Now that you're filing for divorce, there's no reason to keep it separate anymore. The properties, investments, everything transfers to your control. I picked up my mother's old photo from his desk, smiling at her confident expression. She'd always warned me to keep something for myself, to maintain my independence no matter what. Never let anyone make you feel small, she'd said. Just let them think they're bigger than you until they prove they don't deserve your trust. My phone buzzed. A message from Julia. David's parents had tried to access their retirement accounts, only to discover their recent financial manipulations had triggered a fraud investigation. Their attempts to help David hide money from me during the divorce had backfired spectacularly. Should we proceed with the press release? James asked, holding up a draft announcement about the new charitable foundation I was establishing, one that would help women achieve financial independence after divorce. Yes, I nodded. It's time. The next morning, while having breakfast at my favorite cafe, I watched as the announcement hit the local news. The Mitchell Family Foundation, named after my mother, not my soon-to-be ex-husband, would be offering grants, legal assistance, and support to women rebuilding their lives. David's sister called first, surprisingly. I had no idea, she said quietly, about any of it, what they did to you, who you really were. I'm sorry I didn't stand up for you. Thank you, I replied sincerely. She'd been the only one who'd occasionally shown me kindness. Would you like to help with the foundation? We could use someone who understands family dynamics. By evening, the story had spread through our social circle. The same people who'd watched silently as my in-laws humiliated me, who'd turned a blind eye to Madison and David's affair, were suddenly flooding my phone with messages of support and congratulations. I declined all their calls except one, from my elderly neighbor, Mrs. Chen, who'd been the only person to warn me about Madison's frequent visits while I was away. You did good, girl, she said warmly. Your mother would be proud. A week later, I received a letter from David. He wrote about regret, about realizing too late what he'd lost, about hoping someday I could forgive him. Madison, he mentioned, had already started dating someone else. Someone with an actual fortune, not just the appearance of one. I didn't reply. Instead, I focused on renovating my house, removing all traces of their presence. Each room I redesigned felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. The foundation's first grant recipient was a woman who reminded me of myself, someone whose in-laws had tried to bully her out of her home. Helping her stand up for herself felt like turning my pain into purpose. 6 months later, I ran into my former mother-in-law at the grocery store. She looked older, tired. The fraud investigation had cost them their reputation and most of their retirement savings. She started to turn away but then stopped. You won, she said simply. You had the power all along and we never saw it. No, I corrected her. I didn't win. I just stopped letting you make me lose. As I drove home that evening, I thought about everything that had happened. My mother had taught me that true strength isn't about fighting every battle. It's about knowing which ones are worth fighting and being prepared when they come. I parked in my driveway, looking at my beautiful home, now truly mine in every way. The garden was blooming with the roses I'd planted, my favorite wind chimes tinkled in the breeze, and through the window, I could see the family photos I'd restored to their rightful place. Inside, on my desk, lay the final divorce papers ready to be filed. Beside them sat the foundation's latest grant applications, more women seeking the chance I'd had, the opportunity to stand on their own feet. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about building something beautiful from the ashes of what others tried to destroy. My in-laws had wanted to break me, but instead, they'd helped me build something stronger than I'd ever imagined. And that was worth more than any house or inheritance could ever be.